So, yeah. The first thing that we should remember is to live your own life. It sounds simple, but some people have a tendency to live other people's lives. Maybe their spouse or their boss or their parents. Where I have been working recently in South Korea, many children, they sacrifice what they think would be what they would like to do based on what their parents would like them to become. So sometimes this creates frustration in the mind. And so this idea of living our lives means we're expressing our prana dharma, the innate tendency which all of us have that makes us different from everyone else. That's who we are. And it comes from the two words prana, life energy, and dharma, intrinsic nature. So when we're expressing the prana dharma, our whole life is full of enthusiasm, and we feel alive, passionate, and we're able to develop our highest qualities. So this is something which very important for our life. The other is not to be too hard on yourself. Maybe you've seen this quotation before. It's quite insightful. "O Lord, grant me the strength to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference." So it is, failure is part of life. You know that the person that invented the light bulb, Thomas Edison, he said, I found 10,000 ways in which I could not light the bulb. He said, I didn't fail. I just couldn't find, it took me 10,000 ways to find out how to light the bulb. So this is an important thing to remember, that sometimes things won't work out as we hope for. So failure is all part of some important lessons for us to learn. So that's where, in the Bhagavad Gita, the main teaching of the Bhagavad Gita is the law of karma yoga, that we have the right to the action, but we don't have the right to the fruits of the action. So in this way, we perform the actions without expectation of the fruits or what is going to occur from that action. And our master, Sri Sri Anandamurtiji, he gave this formula, RCP, to materialize any action. R is the right moment, and C is the continuous effort, and P is proper finishing. So the first one is right moment. So failure, it may not be because we didn't make the effort, or it may not be because we didn't finish it properly, but it might be that it's not the right time, that it's not the time that that it can be materialized. So this is also something important to remember when we face, so-called, things don't happen according to our expectations, and we feel we're no good, or we're unworthy, or we're not successful. So this is also, it's something like the first one, doing something you really love. Maybe it's painting the living room, or baking the perfect cake, wearing new clothes. We all have something which we really, really love. And this is a way in which we can, show that we value ourselves and appreciate ourselves. Varying the routine helps to break the monotony. And this is also important to keep our dynamism and our passion. Absorbing the healing power of nature. Maybe it's the waterfall, maybe it's the mountain, the sea, the forest. Our master, he shared in one of his discourses that the sound ka, he was analyzing the acoustic roots of the different sounds that come from our inner centers, our inner chakras. And he said that the sound of ka is heard when it was heard in roaring rivers, babbling brooks, or gushing of spring water, helped to awaken these feelings of survival in the early humans. And this is actually in the yoga psychology book, he explains that ka is the acoustic root of the propensity of hope. So these areas, these places especially, help to remove these feelings of despair or, kind of like, feeling down or depressed. This is, where these are all physical things, practical things. Yoga asana, very, very important. The Ananda Marga style of yoga asana may be different than what is taught in most places, which is known as yoga today. And it's because the way that we do it, because we do it specifically to activate the hormones from our glands, they really, really improve our emotional and mental state. So, for example, we repeat the pose more than one time. We may repeat it 8 times. And then there's the holding of the breath, the kumbhaka, and breath retention or slowing of the breath is directly related to the state of relaxation and mental peace. And we just intersperse each pose with the deep relaxation pose, the shavasana. And if possible, putting the soothing background music, as we heard just before we started our program. And all important, this is not taught in other yoga styles, is the self-massage. And one of the other speakers is going to talk about the role of lymph and how it strengthens our immune system. But the self-massage specifically moves the lymph, because lymph doesn't move like blood. Blood is pumped from a heart, but there's no pump that moves the lymph. It has to move with exercise or this self-massage, which is performed after the yoga asanas. So these are kind of specific specialties of the Ananda Marga asana approach, which really bring a great feeling of we feel this huge reservoir of energy, very grounded. At the same time, the mind is clear and calm. So these are the benefits of doing asanas in this way. And that is one of the best ways to control negative emotions. So our master Shishanandamurti said that the regular practice of asanas keeps the body healthy and cures many diseases. Asanas control the glands. The glands control the secretion of hormones. And the secretion of hormones control the propensities. Propensities means those thoughts that come in the mind, those feelings like anger, fear, jealousy, doubt, hatred, shyness. These are the propensities. So asanas help a sadhaka, spiritual aspirant, to balance the body and concentrate the mind. So this aspect of yoga is not well known today, but it is the main way in which Ananda Marga teaches. That's why we call it asana. The original word is asana, posture which brings comfort to the body and composure to the mind. Stira sukham asanam is the meaning of asana. And this comes under the science of Raja Yoga. Emotions can be both positive and negative. And our aim is to enhance the positive emotions and to diminish the negative emotions. And by the different practices of Raja Yoga, they serve to elevate the emotions from the psychophysical level to a higher plane, the psycho-spiritual level. So those things that bother us, those rather, lower emotions related to our lower energy centers or chakras, when we are able, through the different practices like the meditation, the kirtan, the yoga asanas, well done, as I've explained here, what happens is that those emotions that are very common on the lower levels of our, related to the lower levels of our mind, they become less apparent and less disturbing as our mind rises to this higher psycho-spiritual plane. So selective friendships. There's a saying that you know a person's character by the friends that he keeps or that she keeps. And another saying is that we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. So Another important aspect of keeping good company is this swajaya, taking any inspiring reading, any book, any literature, which will motivate us for the whole day. And, we say a page a day keeps the negativity away. Something like what you heard about the apple. Well, it also applies to our mental state when we select something very inspiring, that those words can keep us going the whole day with their inspirational power. And avoiding asatsanga means staying away from bad company. The founder of the yoga system, first yoga system called Tantra, was Sadashiva, and he gave the 5 M's, the Panchamakara, and they are, can say both there's a subtle interpretation and a crude interpretation. And the fourth of those 5 was called mudra. And basically it means keeping bad company is the cause of bondage, whereas keeping good company is the cause of liberation. So you probably are all familiar with the story of the Lion King, where the lion was somehow got separated from its family when it was a cub and ended up in the family of sheep. And only when it could have a chance meet its father again, it roared and realized that it wasn't a sheep, it was a lion. So this is the importance of associating with people who believe in you and, who are always, by the way in which they live, they shine, they're joyous, they're sweet. And that can only help us in overcoming any emotional difficulties we face in our life. So another great challenge today is to avoid the new addiction, which we find in social media feeds. So we know that a clean social environment will help us to maintain a clean inner environment. So this is the newest way in which we have to avoid this asatsanga or bad company. Cultivating a fine art. Many years ago, when I was an LFT working in Canada, I had a flute, but I lost it. I was hitchhiking through the Rocky Mountains. But later on, as an Acharya, one learns the guitar, and that is such I'm not at all professional, but it's so nice to play and to sing Bhavanam Kevalam. And one of the rules of the acharyas is to cultivate a fine art, because this develops our aesthetic sense. So this is related to the psychic approach of improving our emotional well-being. And when we can go to the aesthetic world, we leave behind the mundane world with all of its, physical challenges. Search for and enroll in a free learning course based on your interest. So these are ways to keep our minds young, youthful, active, and not forgetful. So, there's a difference between selfishness and selflessness. There's a saying that pity, or rather mercy or compassion for others is the greatest virtue. But pity of oneself is the greatest vice. So this is important lesson to learn, to serve. By serving others, we activate our heart center, and actually we forget our small I, and we become say in resonance with that part of us which is love, hope, welfare, and wishing others all of the compassion. And this act of service connects us to the universal law that we are all one. So Einstein, this famous quotation of Einstein, he said, there's 2 ways to live life. One way, everything in life is a miracle. The wonder and the awe is always there. And the other is that nothing in life is a miracle. And accordingly, the way we think is how we are. And that's the yoga science. As we think, so we become. And my master, he gave this advice. Two of them are very much related to what I'm sharing today. The first one was, don't live in the past. And he always used to say that your eyes are in the front of your head, not in the back. So you may glance behind to see how far you've advanced, but don't live there. And don't compare yourself with others. Our pranadharma is unique to us. And we have something which others don't have, and others have which we don't have. So there's no point to compare ourselves with other people. And the third thing is not to doubt the spiritual goal. This is when we that might occur, that we have some doubt about the very purpose of our life and so on. But as we do more and more of our practices, this becomes more, it's a path, it's a movement, and the ups and downs are all part of the journey to strengthen us and to firm our resolve that the ultimate purpose of life is to become one with infinite joy. So that was physical approach and mental approach, and now the spiritual approach. Constant use of Madhu Vidya. Madhu means honey, and Vidya is knowledge. So knowledge, honey knowledge. Here, it means to perceive everything that happens to us as a game. And the game is, there's a supreme magician behind the magic of life. And when we can, we learn this in our meditation, in Ananda Marga meditation, it's our second lesson. When we can get established in this ideation or this feeling, we are in the world and we can do so many useful things for others, but we're not of the world. There develops a type of detachment from everything. And this is a very beautiful state. I remember when I was overworked, I was having too much pressure in my work, and I was feeling a little bit submerged. And the senior Dada who I was visiting at the time, he said, "Are you practicing your second lesson, which is the Madhu Vidya lesson?" He told me he intuitively understood that I wasn't doing it enough. And when I applied it more and more, and this is a great reminder to all that have that lesson, that this will really, really help us to be constantly active and dynamic, but not to be attached to whatever happens. And the next spiritual approach is to cultivate an inner dialogue with that supreme friend. There's an interesting story one Dada was sharing in our meeting recently. And he said that, in his course, he's giving a yoga course in Singapore. And he was asking the students to share, their experiences of the course. And then one woman said, I have learned the greatest secret in the universe. Then Dada said, well, it's a great secret, but would you mind to share a little bit about what you mean? And then she was saying that she learned mantra, and the mantra is secret. It's not for anyone to know, it's hers. But she said, it's through that mantra that I'm able to communicate with the Supreme Being. And so this is the greatest tool we have to communicate with that Supreme Friend. And we are being helped in meditation because we're fulfilling the purpose of the creation, which is the Supreme Being was one and it will become many. It became many, and from the many, it becomes one. So by meditating, we're fulfilling the purpose of the humans, which is to complete that cycle from the one to the many, many back to the one. And only we that have that developed mind, we realize that we have self-awareness. When we can channelize that towards the Supreme, then we are fulfilling the purpose of the creation, so we'll be helped in that work. So we should be careful what we ask for, because that Supreme Friend is inside and is ever ready to grant what we wish. So, there's a difference between solitude Oh, sorry. Let me go back. Solitude and I want to go back to that slide. I don't think I can. Okay, sorry. Can you see the slide?
Not yet, Dadaji.
Okay. Yeah. Now?
Still not yet.
Uh-huh.
I just now I think because you stop share screen, now you have to start again to share screen. You need to click the green button at the bottom, which
Oh, yeah. Thank
yes,
you. Sorry.
sure.
Yeah. You can see now?
Yes,
Yeah. Can you
now we
see?
could see it.
Okay.
Yes, Dada, we could see it. Thank you.
Dharma rakshati rakshata. This saying means that those who follow or uphold the universal laws will be protected by those universal laws. So there's a subtle, invisible guiding force behind everything. And that invisible force is very refined. It's not like a villager that blurts out his desires easily. So by creating a relationship of love, we will know the desire of that supreme. And this is what the yogis call a devotion, that relationship of love. And so we become completely guided when we're able to develop this relationship, and we're constantly feeling the guidance of what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad, what's permanent, what's temporary, what's the right way to go. And we develop on this level the state of being a burnt seed, dagdabija in Sanskrit. We're not affected by extreme joy, nor are we affected by severe pain. This is the ideal that we're striving for in the devotional path of yoga. And finally, the converting our emotion into devotion. So Sri Shivanandamurti explained that when the mind moves along a particular track or follows a particular discipline in a methodical way, this is called devotion or bhakti. But when it does not follow a particular method, when it moves haphazardly, swept away by whim, it's called emotion. So this is the fundamental difference between devotion and emotion. So, you know, that's why the Ananda Marga meditation, the whole process it's quite structured. There's some very specific things that we can do which channelize our whims, our impulses, when we're subject to that, the passions of mind, the things which we can't control. But by constantly practicing, the psychospiritual practices, kirtan, meditation, then this emotion is channelized into devotion. And I remember it's very, very popular psychoanalysis, and going to the shrink and trying to tell out all your problems and try to get your problems solved. And in Ananda Marga, it's a little bit different. And it's simply because not looking into the past, not comparing yourself to others, doing what you love to do, cultivating the relationship with the inner friend. All of these practice and the practices, the asanas, the kirtan, the meditation, they they bring your mind more and more and more and more into the psychospiritual plane. And so the lower thoughts of the psychophysical plane, they are not anymore disturbing us. This is important. And this is a very beautiful quotation of Sri Anandamurti to close my presentation. The soul abides in your mental horizon as the knower of your world of imagination and as the certifying witness of your existence. If you direct your sentimental entity towards its great sentiment, then your emotion or thought, being on a higher plane, loses its pettiness. Your existence then is hardly distinguishable from it. If you cherish the sentiment of attaining him, you will have to be devoid of all sensuous desires by carefully and deftly bringing under control the selfish, individualistic frivolities of your mind. So this is, again, this approach of a systematic, regular practice, the psycho-spiritual practices found in Rajati Raja Yoga and Tantra Yoga, which bring us to that higher plane where sensuous desires, by following the yama and niyamas, the moral principles, those sensuous desires and lower emotions, they come under our complete control. So these were some of the points that I had to share about this emotional self-care. And it's on physical, mental, and spiritual level. Thank you very much.